In this week's AMT Fresh Produce Outlook on the market, Dr. Roland Goldberg, a consumer behavior specialist from the Northwest University, will share his thoughts on likely changes in consumer behavior due to the coronavirus outbreak, with severe implications for the entire supply chain of the agricultural industry in South Africa. A very interesting interview, so make sure not to miss this episode. Hi, I'm Johnny and welcome to this week's AMT Fresh Produce Outlook on the market, made possible by Standard Bank. These videos are aimed at keeping you up to date with the latest trends in the fresh produce markets of South Africa, so make sure to like and share this page. As promised, Dr. Roland Goldberg from the Northwest University will share his thoughts on likely changes in consumer behavior due to the coronavirus outbreak. But let's go and see what happened to prices on the fresh produce markets the past week. The potato price decreased by 12% week on week to 34.21 per 10 kilogram bag, while tomato prices increased to 7.76 last week. Carrot prices traded on 5.13, while onion prices increased to 4.16 per kilogram last week. Banana prices increased by 16% week on week to 11.93, while apple and pear prices remain under pressure on 7.86 and 6.36 per kilogram respectively. The orange and avo market stays under pressure due to high volumes, with the latest orange price on 4.95 and avos trading on 11.66 per kilogram last week. Changes in consumer spending and behavior is having a severe impact on the fresh produce markets as well, and we have seen that retail-orientated markets have increased a bit, while direct sales to restaurants and so forth, decreased significantly. We've also seen that demand on fresh produce markets specifically decreased a bit. But let's go and listen to Dr. Roland Goldberg regarding what he expects will be the significant changes in consumer behavior going forward due to the coronavirus outbreak.
Good morning, Dr. van der Merwe. My apologies for not being there with you in person, but I assume it goes without saying that with the latest developments regarding the COVID-19 virus, that one cannot be too careful. So I will attempt to answer your questions regarding the virus and the effect that it's had on consumer behavior from the comfort of my office. As we have seen, South African shoppers are rushing to stock up on supplies, engaging in what we have termed panic buying, following President Ramaphosa's speech on Sunday evening, in which he had declared a state of disaster for South Africa. Businesses are also responding to the virus outbreak by cancelling all larger social gatherings, and some even by encouraging employees to work from home. I believe that this widespread fear of the pandemic has most certainly changed consumer behavior, as well as the demand for various items, with consumers heading to stores in order to stock up on cleaning supplies, surgical gloves, hand sanitizers, and also toilet paper, which seems to be the number one product rolling off the shelves. Due to so many South Africans closely monitoring international news coverage concerning the virus, consumers are also stockpiling on food and water and other essentials in anticipation that some South African towns and cities might go into quarantine, as has happened in some other countries around the world like Spain and Italy. These spikes in consumer spending can also be attributed to consumers' fear that retail and wholesale stocks may be depleted as a result of an increase in this panic buying. Being a specialist in consumer buying behavior, I believe that the panic buying is brought about by a fear contagion phenomenon that is currently taking place in South Africa. So when people are stressed, their reasoning is hampered. So they look at other consumers and see what other people are doing. If others are stockpiling and other consumers are engaging in this panic buying behavior, it leads to you engaging in the same behavior. People see photos of empty shelves at Pick n Pay and at Woolies, and regardless of whether it's rational, it sends a signal to them that this is the thing to do. For example, the bulk purchase of toilet paper. I myself don't see any rationality behind the bulk purchase of toilet paper. But yet when people don't know what to do or how to react, they look at others for guidance, especially in a state of panic or uncertainty. If it were a different kind of disaster, like a flood, for example, we would know how to prepare and how to react. but we are now dealing with a virus that we have very little knowledge about. Now, in the very short run, an increase in demand would be a positive for retailers, especially food and other essentials. However, should the demand for fresh and perishable products continue to rise due to increased panic buying, especially nearing the end of March when consumers receive their paychecks, there would most definitely be cause for concern, the most obvious being that of price increases. This happens as previously anticipated demand totally outstrips the available supply. In the medium term, however, depending on whether the virus continues to spread or not, there might be a decline in demand, possibly due to quarantine restrictions, businesses and schools that are closing, or the fear of exposure to public spaces with large numbers of people. Another area worth monitoring is global agricultural value chains. The potential decline in Asia's agricultural demand and falling prices could see the value of South Africa's agricultural exports to Asia also declining in 2020. South Africa's agriculture is export orientated, with exports roughly estimated at $10 billion in 2019. The potential disruptions the COVID-19 could cause on global value chains is definitely a key concern. This is specifically the case for Asia as the epicenter of the outbreak and an area that accounts for more than a quarter of South Africa's agricultural exports. This is indeed quite worrisome as the possible decline in demand for South Africa's agricultural produce coincides with the already debilitating South African economy with a 1.4% retraction in our economy. In terms of consumer behavior changes and its effect on the retail industry, I definitely expect that supermarkets will start rationing purchases of more food and grocery products as panic buying by anxious shoppers escalates, especially now at the end of March when they receive their paychecks. Also, the sales of cleaning detergents, toilet paper, hand sanitizers, latex gloves, masks, and non-perishable food items will definitely continue to rise as consumers flock to stores nearing the end of the month. This is indeed consistent with global trends where the UK has seen categories like tissue, toilet paper and pasta surge up over 50% for the week commencing March. Supermarkets have already started cutting back on their promotions due to the increase in demand, and as such, growth margins are expected to rise somewhat. The increase in sales will come with increased costs, however, in the supply chain, which greatly limits the level of operating leverage that is usually expected by these retailers. Supermarkets are investing heavily in more staff to restock depleted supermarket shelves, restock distribution centers, and fulfill online orders. And talking about online orders, online grocery purchases, I assume, will be accelerated, as well as fast food deliveries and drive-through purchases as consumers engage in social distancing. Consumers will also return to cooking at home instead of going out in an attempt to avoid as much contact with larger groups of people. I also believe that the tourism and transport industry will take a knock, with fewer consumers opting to travel, especially via plane, train and bus. And I think it's also just a matter of time before non-essential stores such as cinema, such as your Ster-Kliniek or a new Metro, shutting their doors for a certain period of time, which obviously brings about other repercussions and may even fuel panic buying. In fact, this is when I think we will experience a spike in panic buying, as some consumers may regard this as a sign to start panicking, thinking that they will no longer be able to purchase food, water, and other essential products from stores due to closure. So as consumers, we need to remain calm and continue to make rational purchase decisions, and remember that a spike in this panic buying could actually leave those with a real need for the essential products to go without. So think before you buy, keep those hands clean, and let us unite as a nation to see ourselves through these uncertain times.